Hey guys, welcome back.
We're wrapping up our series on coaching in the temperaments. Today we're going to be talking about the phlegmatics. How do we get these people that are just so steadfast and so wrapped up and concerned with relationships? How do we get them to try some new things or some new initiatives that they've got, get them moving? Once they get moving, they are unstoppable forces here. But if you got phlegmatic clients or directees or kids or mentees, come on into the podcast.
Yeah, you're going to like it. All right, guys, see you in there. Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey, Catholic Coaching Podcast. We're sticking around with our final episode of our series on coaching in the temperaments, wrapping up with the phlegmatics.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about coaching people who are phlegmatic or coaching people who are sanguine, depending on what your temperament
Not
is.
dogs or cats, but people.
Yes.
We're coaching people.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if this is like the last time we're going to be talking about temperaments and coaching, but this is just directly towards the people that you're coaching and what their temperament is.
You hear it out of her mouth, her beautiful mouth. I'm hearing it for the first time here too.
Well,
so the ideas never stop. Good old Erin Ingold.
I'm the content creator, so I get to say.
Boom, boom, boom. So if you don't know what your client's temperament is, or
check that out.
Maybe you're not a coach, maybe you're a mentor, maybe you're a pastoral care worker, maybe you're a spiritual director, maybe you're a parent. It's really good. Whoever you're responsible for forming, it's really good to know what their temperament is. It's kind of like the sculptor that knows the material of stone that he or she is working with.
Yeah.
Because you're going to approach shaping, molding, perfecting that stone into something beautiful in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so we're talking phlegmatics. We don't want to use too much pressure on the phlegmatics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Phlegmatics make up of about, like 13 to 15% of society. So you're going to have a phlegmatic at some point if you are forming somebody. And
I'm so thankful that you exist out there, phlegmatics. Like, you are my favorite people.
They're like everyone's favorite people.
Yeah.
You're not.
There again.
Yeah.
Feel good. We're going to get into the importance of encouraging phlegmatics here in the do's part of the podcast, but we're going to be talking about the do's and the don'ts for coaching phlegmatic clients here. Okay. So take these tidbits. If you don't know if your client's temperament is, go check out the temperaments assessment. You get free access to it here in the show notes, or you can go to catholiccoaching.com/free resources. You can find the temperaments assessment there.
And you can also find some other guides there, some other reports there. So we have a lot of free stuff for you with the temperaments. You're welcome. Okay, let's get into don'ts. What not to do for the phlegmatic client. Don't push them too hard or too fast. Phlegmatics resist pressure and forceful tactics. A gentle, steady approach is far more effective in helping them take action. Their resistance is not aggressive, though. It's more passive. Like, they might just walk slowly or just answer slowly, because there is an internal resistance to it. So just notice that. It's not going to look like resistance from a choleric, which would be like, yo, slow down, dude.
But it can show up as digging heels in.
Yes.
It can show up as a form of stubbornness, right? And so it's like it's a subtle resistance, but it's more of a passive aggressive kind of resistance that's there.
Yeah.
And so putting arbitrary time constraints on things can be a way of pushing, right? Where in inviting some of that stubbornness. Yeah.
But if there is, let's just say you're in a coaching session and there is a lot of things, just know that going into a coaching session, you might not get as much done, or from your own point of view, you might not get as much done with a phlegmatic. But if you give them space to speak and process things, I think that's very effective for a phlegmatic. If there is a time constraint and you want to give them the value, just check yourself. Be like, okay, what is the value for me? It's probably different for them, but also it's okay to let them know, like, there is a little bit of a time constraint, and I want you to get some value out of this coaching session. I've never run into somebody who just like didn't speak at all in a coaching session. So I don't see that being like a real problem.
Yeah. I don't think it's more so like pushing that we got to get this done in this coaching session, but
yeah,
when they're trying something new, just recognizing that they need a little bit more time, kind of like the melancholics, a little bit more time to process through it. And this is because they have such a superpower of being steadfast and steady, right? And so there's such a value that's placed on just
consistency.
Consistency in not ruffling the apple cart, rustling the apple cart.
Never even heard of that.
Upturning, flipping the apple carts. Let's keep the apples right where they belong in the cart.
What a phlegmatic
but
would
not
say.
shaking things up, shaking things up unnecessarily. Because as soon as you create some disruption, that can often impact relationships, which they really want to preserve.
But if you do find yourself rushing, that's your work to do. If you feel like you're rushing them, another thing that you could do is just say, hey, if you need a little bit more time with this particular question that I'm asking you, go ahead and write that down and let me know in our next session. Like, it's like a whole week. It'll give you some time to walk through it. So give them that option. Yeah. That permission.
Often below the surface, though, behind the resistance, they're guarding some relationship. So I like getting curious about it. It
could be guarding relationship or guarding ease or comfort.
Their energy.
Yeah. So there's, I think, and we're going to get to that actually. Yep. All right. Number 2, don't mistake their calmness for their lack of engagement. Okay. Just because they seem easygoing doesn't mean that they lack that deep engagement or conviction. It's in there. It's just finding it. And that's part of your job is helping them find it and you starting to discover it.
Yeah.
So give them space to express themselves at their own pace. You can ask open-ended questions if they are giving you like this might show up in like one word answers like yes, no, or like very brief little sentences, like they're not going on and on and on. And if that is the case, ask them open-ended questions like, hey, can you tell me more about that? Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that? And just allow them to keep talking. I think that's successful. If you have a phlegmatic client sitting with you and they continue to talk and they open up to you, I think that is success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. This is something as a cleric coach I need to be aware of because I can often mistake kind of that even keeled nature of the phlegmatic as like, oh, they're just not interested or they're not engaged. And that's not necessarily the case. Their engagement just doesn't show up so extroverted like it would for the sanguine or the choleric.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right, number 3, don't overload them with too many changes at once. They prefer stability and, like we said, consistency, and they can feel overwhelmed by too many demands. Introduce change gradually and in small, manageable steps. Ask them if there is no such thing as too small of a step. What would be the first and most practical and simplest step that you could take? You could ask a question like that. So it's like, if we could decide together what those steps look like and there's no such thing as too small, what would that look like? What would that next step for you to take? It's just like minimizing everything. We always talk about the 10% rule. It's like, if you could just do that 10% more today, what would that look like for you to do that?
I like the idea of slowly building conviction with the phlegmatics by just giving them some small wins, right? Every time they move forward, that's a new experience that can reinforce the conviction. And what might start like a real slow step-by-step slowly can build up some inertia. And suddenly their steadfast, unflappable nature is now moving like a locomotive, right? A powerful locomotive, that snowball effect rolling down the mountain. And they've got incredible momentum going towards their goal.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a slow process of of getting there.
It is. A lot of this is just about checking your own timeline. Like as a coach, if you struggle with impatience, if you struggle with rushing people, or if you struggle with wanting to be validated by your clients, a phlegmatic client would be the best person for you because you'll definitely grow in that skill and just slow it down. ask yourself, like, what does this person need? Not what is my agenda? We got to drop our agendas at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Not what is my agenda? What does success look like for me? What does success look like for them? What does this person need specifically for their temperament?
I shared
anything
even with.
You want to add?
No, I mean, this is a parent, right? I remember and maybe I shared the story already, but when I was teaching last summer, my daughter how to ride a bike. Right, she's melancholic. She's got a secondary phlegmatic temperament. That's what we see right now. What we believe. But I know that when I learned how to ride a bike as a cleric, I went out there within half hour at 4 years old. It was just like riding two-wheeler, didn't have any problems, right? My father.
Oh, you're so cool.
No, that's just.
Wow, Matt.
I still got the award hanging up in my trophy case.
4-year-old.
Brag. All right. But anyways.
I didn't fall once.
That was many times. But I got right back up because I like the pain of it and the challenge of it. Anyways. So bringing that frame to my melancholic phlegmatic daughter of how she is going to learn how to ride a bike, I had to really drop that, or I was setting us both up for some disappointment and some frustration. And just the timeline, I knew it was going to be a half hour. I knew it wasn't going to be 4 hours. We gave ourselves the entire summer to learn how to do this. And it was amazing because we had that gentle timeline that allowed me to shape my expectations and drop my manuals, my agenda, like you were saying, as a coach, and show up a little bit more patient. It really turned into a very bonding and connected experience for both of us, which we both valued, right? Yeah. And so now bike riding is something that we enjoy to do together as a family.
And she did it. She's riding too well.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. I also want to, like, this number 3, don't overload them with too many changes at once. I think that actually is across the board for every person. When you're training, you're coaching anyone, you're giving people feedback and you're saying, like, let's make this change. Just to focus on one change is very valuable. Like, it's overwhelming for everyone to work on more than one thing.
I can tell you as a cleric, I agree. And I like to have, okay, once you master this.
Almost like a hierarchy.
Give me a priority list of what to work on.
I see.
So that can be something that's helpful. It's like, okay, get this. Now you can move on.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4, don't let them procrastinate or abdicate hard decisions. So don't let them procrastinate making hard decisions or abdicate hard decisions.
That might look like, hey, what should I do, to the coach?
What do you think I should do?
You might be tempted to give them a suggestion.
What do you think I should do?
It's creating a codependent relationship. Yep.
Yeah, phlegmatics may procrastinate and defer decisions to others, especially their choleric and sanguine coaches who are quick to jump in and be like, here's the answer. Here's what you should do. You're robbing the phlegmatics of, like, their greatest skill, their greatest ability. I think their greatest leverage of growth for a client. I think that is what you're doing. You're robbing them. For growth. I'm speaking to myself out loud, to myself right now. So I am convicted of this. You want to help them build the confidence to make the choices and take responsibility for their own path. I think a great skill here that we train our coaches in, that we teach a lot of people actually in our academy, is locus of control. Every time I teach a phlegmatic locus of control, they're like, oh my gosh, because then you start to see boundaries in a different way, but you also start to say, oh my goodness, I've been abdicating things that are within my responsibility because I go, oh, maybe I'm telling myself I'm not good at that. So therefore it's somebody else's responsibility. No, it's yours. Actually, the decisions that you make, the responsibility, if you're an adult and you have children or something, like, they are your responsibility. If you are an adult and you have a job and you have a commitment that you made, that is your responsibility. And so just to give people, I guess, boundaries and guidelines of what is your responsibility and what is not, is freedom. It's not necessarily easy right away, but it is freedom. And it does help create emotional boundaries as well.
Yeah. So I remember having a client that was very not primary phlegmatic, but secondary phlegmatic. It was pretty close. Anyways, was struggling at work with management, and specifically not wanting to frustrate coworkers with decisions,
which is a phlegmatic. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though this person was in a leadership position, and so this person was avoiding conversations with coworkers, or avoiding, this person would have conversations with coworkers, but it wouldn't touch on any of these difficult issues. Very avoidant in that. And in so doing was abdicating what was actually expected of this person in the role, in the leadership role.
Yeah.
Right. Not showing up as a leader, not being decisive, not setting an expectation for other people to follow, or holding people to an expectation, and was taking on a lot of his or her coworkers. I'm trying to avoid this person's coworkers' emotional responsibility in the process.
Yeah. 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 You see it a lot. I mean, I coach a lot of people on people pleasing, lack of boundaries, all of it, especially in leadership roles. But I mean, here's the thing, like phlegmatics make really great leaders because they are so steadfast and so consistent, but it's really overcoming these little issues. And I think they're easily overcome when they learn things like locus of control and boundaries and all that. Okay.
Absolutely.
I also think when, here's another thing, you will hear phlegmatics say this a lot, and it's, I don't know. So when you ask them a question, hey, what do you love to do? I don't know. Hey, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
And they might not have ever had somebody pause long enough to actually let them answer that question.
Or they've never asked themselves that, right? And they've never answered it before, but give them some space to answer it. And I think a little hack, and I think I've shared this on here like a million times, but I'm going to share it again. If you did know, what would you do? If you did know, what would you say? And I like framing it as being like, let's play a game. Okay. I call it the I don't know game as a coach, right? When you say, I don't know, just be like, oh, not allowed to say that. If I did know, what would I do? And it's just that mental exercise of like practicing critically thinking through things. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you could ask is, what do I know for certain in this particular decision? Like what are the facts that I know? What are the things that I actually do know? Because then you realize I don't know is a lie because it's not 100% true. Right. So you do know some things, and then you can kind of wiggle in other things that you want to know. That's been really helpful for me as secondary phlegmatic, because I used to spin in confusion a lot, and I still catch it on myself. Like I'll catch it and be like, especially when I'm like being challenged to go into a leadership role, I'll be like, I don't know. Like, and then I'm like, wait, hold on. If I did know, what would I do? All right. Number 5, don't overlook the importance of motivation and encouragement. Phlegmatics will struggle with self-motivation. I can speak from firsthand experience of this. Consistent encouragement and gentle accountability are key to helping them engage and move forward. I also adding in words that we know and like just natural motivations that we know actually motivate a phlegmatic is huge. So you could a couple of motivations that phlegmatics have are just collaborating with others. All right. So if they're like kind of dreading doing something, you could be like, who could you collaborate with? You know, and it doesn't even have to be like, obviously they want to work with a person, but it could be like, who could you collaborate with? What teacher, what lesson can you learn on YouTube? Like, what does this collaboration look like? They also are really motivated by helping and supporting others. This is highly motivating to me. It's like when you have this figured out, when you have created this thing or finished this goal or completed this project, who will you help at the end of it? Like you going through this, like how will this help others? How will you impart what you've learned onto others? Yeah.
Also like asking the question, what does the mission need? Because that harmony part of the phlegmatic needs to be grounded in a mission, because harmony is when everybody's rowing in the same direction.
Yes.
Well, the mission dictates the direction, right? And so if there's not a solid mission or goal or aim that you're pointed towards as a team, you're going to experience disharmony. So
maybe not as a team, but even as a client, if you're coaching a client, if they don't have a clear mission, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of coaching a client that say is working in a team. They really are motivated by having everybody in harmony, right? Or even a parent, a mom or dad that really likes to have everybody aligned and in harmony. I love grounding that harmony in something that is actually a goal that everybody on the team can get aligned with. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I also like asking, because finally they love simplifying things. They like making things practical. So I like asking the question, how do we make this easier? How do you make this simpler?
Yeah. And that's not a lazy thing to do. It's a super logical, practical thing to do. It's not a question that I ask as a cleric naturally. And so I can often, without that, if Erin's not grounding me in that simplicity, sometimes I can say, oh, we're going to do this. And it's something that creates more friction than is actually necessary, more work than is necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. It is your genius, Phlegmatics out there. It is your genius to make things simpler.
Yeah. Let's not disrupt what doesn't need. Let's not disrupt that apple cart.
Yeah.
Leave the apples where they are. Sure. Okay. All right.
All right, guys. That was it for the don'ts. Don't do those things. But in the meantime, if you guys are interested in learning more about, getting coached as a phlegmatic, come and join us in the academy. It's so helpful. You're going to be alongside other phlegmatics, other melancholics, other sanguines,
They're all in there.
We're all in there.
The whole apple cart is in there. How you like them apples?
That's right.
I can go all day.
Let's go to do's. What do we do?
Let's do that.
What do we do?
All right. Do. All righty. Enough.
All right.
Of that.
Coaching a phlegmatic requires gentle, steady, and encouraging approach. A lot of this is going to demand, if you are more of that commander type coach, it's going to demand you to kind of grow in patience a little bit. That's okay.
Well, I like it more in the eye of you have this note here of just like matching the energy level, matching the tone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just match, right? Likes like. Yep. And yeah.
Yeah, be patient. That's number one. Be patient and gentle. Phlegmatics prefer a calm, low pressure environment. Give them time to process and make decisions without rushing them. Now you might be like, ugh, if this is so opposite of the way that you like to receive coaching or what you think coaching is. Now, guys, this is the reason why we're doing this entire series is for you to tailor your coaching style for the person in front of you. This is love. That is actually a way of being charitable.
You're entering into their world. You're getting outside of your world, entering into their world, which is a loving thing to do.
Yeah. And it's okay. I mean, you might pick a niche down the line. If you're a coach, you might pick a niche that you're like, I'm just going to work with entrepreneurs. Well, chances are it's probably going to be a lot of clerics, right? So you could have a niche if you I like coaching cholerics. I like coaching phlegmatics. You could be like, my niche is people pleasing. Guess what? You're going to get a lot of phlegmatics, that is, so this is, that's just some of my suggestions.
I've heard some coaches also be like, I work with highly driven people.
Yes.
And so that's a way where maybe you're going to have some more cholerics that are or sanguines or extroverts that are showing up based on that niche. So even here is just kind of be attentive to your own niche style that might be emerging as you're tailoring your approach to people and seeing your natural coach approach. Who are the people, perhaps even temperaments that respond best?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So be patient and gentle. Have a low pressure environment. So this is actually really simple. Matt already said it, but notice your tone and then match their tone. If they're kind of low energy, just notice that. Match them a little bit. That doesn't mean that you can't ask meaningful questions. It doesn't mean that you can't keep asking questions. It just, you're matching their tone. Likes, right? People feel more comfortable with you if they feel like you're seeing them and actually matching them. And a lot of that is subconscious. Actually, a lot of times you're just matching people subconsciously. If you're more of an empathetic person and you can read the room a little bit more, you do that subconsciously. But if you're noticing you're struggling and you're kind of like are missing each other in the session, that is your responsibility to match them.
Okay.
All right. Number 2, encourage and affirm their value. Phlegmatics often underestimate their abilities. Regularly affirm their strengths, contributions, and potential to inspire confidence. I think this is huge. Whenever I am working with a phlegmatic, primary or secondary, I think leaning into their strengths, their talents, their contributions, and the temperaments. And all of our coaches are trained in the temperaments, so that those are great tools that they can use. But that's really what I go into, because it's crazy to me. People who are primary phlegmatic, they put everybody in front of them, like everybody, their family, they put everyone, because they love serving people. And so rarely do they pause and go, oh, I'm really good at this. I can always tell the phlegmatics in the room whenever we do a temperaments workshop and we're focused on talents or contributions, because they're like, I never even thought about this. Like, I haven't thought about this in years. I'm like, there's a phlegmatic.
Yeah, that servant's heart can often lead to being overlooked.
Yeah.
Right? Even by themselves. And so
100%
creating that space for them to be like, no, like you are the focus here. I think that's a great gift.
Yes.
Yeah. So with Mother's Day around the corner, husbands, give your phlegmatic wives the gift of a coach, right? That can actually hold 100%. The space for them.
Yeah. Somebody who takes them through their talents and their strengths. So good. Also, I think helping them find their mission too. This will help build conviction, right? And guys, we have a brand new coach training. I'm like so excited. I've been wanting to tell you guys about this forever, but it's brand new.
I think it's actually kicking off. The orientation of it is this week based on when this is hitting. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's tomorrow even.
Yes. You are going to want to look into this. It's called our mission coach training, and it breaks down all of your identity work that through the temperaments, but also just a tremendous amount of finding, tools and techniques and helping people find their God-given mission. Now, we're not saying we are giving people their God-given mission. That is God's job. But we are asking the right questions and then leaving space for the Holy Spirit and encouraging people to pray through it. And then they start to find their unique mission. It's so powerful.
Yeah. So that mission coach training is all about helping you, the coach, to be a better accompanier of a person walking through a process of discovering their mission in Christ and their identity in Christ.
Yeah. Right? It's so good. If you work in a church, do this.
I want to see one of these mission coaches in every parish in the United States. Every parish needs somebody that's helping unlock the apostolic potential, apostolic gifting in all of the parishioners.
Well, it's not just churches though, too. Like if you work at a college, a Newman school, if you work in any type of industry where there's some type of transition, somebody's transitioning from one role to another. If you work with people like that, you're going to want to check this out. Go check it out. All right. We will put that in the show notes as well.
CatholicCoaching.com.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Mission coach. Let's do it. Cool.
All right. Number 3, help them set small, achievable goals. Phlegmatics can struggle with motivation. So break down the process into manageable steps to make movement feel easy and natural. I like questions like making it smaller. What can we do today?
Okay. This is something that's coming up in me as I'm listening to these things. And so I know I'm looking at it through a choleric lens.
Yes. Be mindful.
But the thought that I have is it just seems like we're treating the phlegmatics with kid gloves here. And I don't know, I don't want phlegmatics to
You could say the same thing about melancholics too, and sanguines, honestly.
Yeah, I don't look at it as just like phlegmatics are so soft and lazy that they need to have this very gentle approach. I continue to go back to like you phlegmatics are just so steadfast and you so value connection, and you so value relationships that the being invited to do something different, you're just more conscious, I think, than the other temperaments of the impact it's going to have on relationships.
Yeah.
And so I see this more as like, not that you guys are so lazy or you just love comfort. I think you guys are really good at maintaining harmony in relationships, which is very necessary, but also preserving energy and focus. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Preservation. That's like one thing. Yeah. Conserving
energy.
Energy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I also think it's once there is conviction and once there is motivation, once they see, oh, I can do this, I'm like capable of doing this for sure. And I'm actually kind of good at it. Like you're unstoppable at that point
because an ounce of laziness.
Because that consistency will now be applied to that new goal. Okay.
All right.
So questions to ask to kind of break this down into achievable goals. Now, we're not doing this because we don't think you're capable of doing the big goals. We're doing this as a mindset shift of being like, I want you to see and believe that you can do this, right? So it's more of a mindset piece here. What can you do today? What does 10% of the increase look like today? And then what could you do that is 10% more today? Now, often people will go, I can definitely do 10%. Maybe I'll do 20%. And I always go, okay, cool. We're not going to do 100%, but we could do up to 80%. If you feel like you can nail it, let's go. So that's what this conversation is about. It's not because I don't think you can do it. I do. And that's part of, guys, that is the coach's goal, and it's our responsibility. We need to believe in our clients more than they believe in themselves. I believe you can do this. I believe that once I get you going, I can't stop you actually. But my job is to start to kind of, let's find out what those things are in the way of you getting going, and minimizing those.
Yeah. So I see it as like choosing to invest in conviction. We're
in
going
the mindset. Yeah.
We know that conviction is a superpower. So we're just going to take those small things to just avoid the potential for like overwhelm. And we're just going to invest in conviction, and then we'll ramp up speed.
Yes.
With conviction.
Yes. I picture like you're starting a fire and it's like a tiny little flame, and overwhelm is just like dumping water on it. Okay. But like growing in that conviction, asking those questions, what could we do a little bit today is like blowing on that little spark and giving it more oxygen.
A little more kindling. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yes. All right. Number 4, create a comfortable, trusting, and motivating environment. Phlegmatics respond best when they feel safe and at ease. Build rapport and establish trust before pushing them toward a change. They're reserved. They're a little bit quieter. They don't open up to people that much. They will ask a lot of questions. So you feel like you know them really well, but you may notice, because they're really good at listening, all they do is ask the questions, and then you're just talking the whole time, So there's a little bit of a balance here. I used to do this when I was a hairstylist, but whenever I struggle, like I knew I had somebody in the chair and it was going to be like an hour and a half because it was like full foil and like haircut. And if they were kind of awkward, they might have been a new client, they're kind of awkward, like they don't really want to share a lot, I would start talking about myself, not incessantly, not indulgently, but I would say, hey, I'm going through this interesting thing right now. And I would just kind of share a vulnerability of myself. I do think if that's done properly and done right and not indulgently, you're not making the whole session about you, but it's a way to open somebody up a little bit. And especially if you can go, I totally get it. Don't lie to them. If you actually agree with this, say it. But like, I totally get it. I don't like sharing with people. Like, I don't like overly sharing with people. I think I'm cautious about who I share deep things with. So I totally understand if that's going to take a little bit of time. Notice I shared a vulnerability of mine. It was honest. All right. Because that is true about me. But also, it's inviting them, and it's saying, you're not alone in this. You're safe with me. So there's just like a way of there's a little bit of sharing on your own part. That's how you kind of get people to open up a little bit. And it does create a comfortable environment. Now you become a safe person here. Okay. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. Number 5, gently challenge their tendency to avoid conflict or decision making. This one's going to be jam packed. Okay. So I'll be brief as much as I possibly can. Okay. Cause there's like 2 things here. Phlegmatics struggle with passivity or indecisiveness. Support them in making choices and taking initiative while respecting their need for space. Okay. So first I'm going to talk about passivity when they're kind of in conflict avoidance. Conflict avoidance in most cases is very helpful and it's a beautiful gift. But it can go indulgent. And part of it is coming from that desire for phlegmatics to have sincere connection with others and to have harmony with others. However, and these 2 are supposed to work together, but they will sacrifice sometimes, phlegmatics, and I've seen this in people pleasing, they will sacrifice sincere connection, which is honest connection, for the sake of harmony. And it's a very shallow harmony. Yes, exactly. It's an easy
superficial.
Harmony. It's superficial, yes. But harmony is in service to, not to be sacrificed. It is in service to sincere connection. Okay. It's not the other way around. We don't sacrifice sincere connection for the sake of shallow or superficial harmony. It's actually in service to that sincere connection. And I don't think one phlegmatic out there would disagree with me on that. Y'all want to be seen. Y'all want to be known. You want to know others. That is what that sincere connection is. And guys, sincere connection takes honesty. It takes vulnerability. It takes saying, no, I love you. And no, it's a boundary, right? Like, or I love you. And yes, and I want to connect with you. And so don't sacrifice that sincere connection for harmony, because you will feel wanting. You will feel that lacking in your life. You won't feel and also everyone's going to bulldoze you and they're going to not have any boundaries.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of interior disharmony that's taking place in that moment.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's actually a really big piece. It's like, what is this in service to? But also like, how is this creating more disharmony in my life and the people who I don't have boundaries with? How is that creating disharmony in their lives? Okay. So that's one thing. The decision-making piece is, I think phlegmatics struggle with making decisions for 2 reasons. The fear of making someone mad, the fear of like, what did you say? Disrupting the apple cart.
When they struggle making decisions, I don't think it's like phlegmatics have a tough time making decisions across the board, but when they do struggle with making decisions, these are often the things that are underneath it.
That's right. So the fear of making someone mad. So like rocking the boat, kind of like the example that you shared, but also that goes into what I just shared, just now. If that is the case and you're coaching this person and like, I don't want to upset anyone else, ask them the question, which decision is first best for me and everyone involved? Okay. The reason why I framed it in that way is they will go, what's best for everybody else? And guess what? Everybody else has different things that are best for them. But if you start with what is the best decision for me? Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a stretch. It's going to be a little hard. You're going to feel a little guilty. Let your client know that. You might feel a little guilty, but let's just like, as a thought exercise, let's just try it. What would be the best decision for you and like the values that you have, like community, your spirituality, your physical health, your mental health? What is the best decision for you? And is that, or could that be the best decision for everybody else? So now we're going into community, right? Because you can't give what you haven't first received. So you have to go to, Lord, what is the best decision for me?
Yeah. Lord, what is it that you're calling me to? So there's like, if you don't have harmony with yourself and with the Lord, you're not going to have harmony with other people.
Yeah.
And
you can't.
So that with phlegmatic clients, it's a lot of, I got one that comes to mind, and he was making a big decision on a career move and on a geographic move. And there were a lot of relationships that were wrapped up in this decision. And so we would kind of approach it from, a discernment standpoint, he felt very aligned with the decision that he was making, aligned with God's will, that it was aligned with God's will. And then he would go talk to somebody, and all of a sudden he'd come back to one session and be like, I don't know. All of a sudden the conviction kind of went away. And so we would go back and revisit that conviction that he had with God and understand the priority and kind of reframe, how can this be in service to this other relationship that seems in jeopardy now because of this decision?
Yes.
And so we slowly, session after session, started to build a conviction where he was able to see, the decision that he had really discerned was the Lord's will for his life, but also something where he could kind of let go and allow other people to feel whatever they were going to feel about it.
And feel his emotions about that. Like,
even
it's okay
more
to
some
feel
of that,
disappointed.
the pain. Yeah.
But I do think it's like really helpful. This helped with my secondary phlegmatic, where it was just like, do you want people to have a relationship with you or the fake you? Like, that's it. It's like, do you want honesty, or do you want people to, and I still ask myself that question when I find myself people pleasing or like changing my decisions because it could be upsetting to somebody. And especially if it's a well thought out, discerned decision, like, really, my relationship with God is the most important thing. So like, if I'm breaking a promise with him because I'm afraid of feeling an emotion because somebody else is upset, that it's kind of like, what are the priorities here? Okay. The second reason why they might have a hard time making a decision is fear of wasting energy. So as a coach, you can ask them, how much mental energy are you actually wasting right now in not making this decision?
Open loops keep our brains going.
Oh my gosh. Indecision is the biggest energy drain of your mind out there. And people think it's safe to not make a decision. I promise you, you have so much more energy when you actually go, I'm just going to make a decision.
That's why I love salespeople. I love talking to a salesperson. Nowadays, I used to be like, don't force a decision on me. But like, a good salesperson is actually helping you to make a decision, whether it's a yes, I want to buy, or no thanks, I definitely don't want to buy. They're just helping you to close the loop, because goodness gracious, open loops can consume so much mental energy. And it's just like, let's just kind of move on.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how much energy you're afraid you might waste in the future speculatively, right? You're actually wasting more energy right now just by not making a decision. Yeah. Okay. And that is it, guys, for our series on how to coach people in the temperaments, or coaching in your temperaments. We might have more of these. If you guys really like it, go ahead and chat that in. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and get more of our videos. Ring that bell, chat in. I want more. And then we will give you more podcasts on this in coaching in your temperaments. I'm so excited to be speaking to you guys as coaches. You're my people. I love all of you. I love all of you. Everybody who's listening, 100%. You guys are the best. Coaches, I have a special place in my heart, though.
Oh,
okay.
That's touching.
All right, guys. That's it. God bless.
Cool. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.